Welcome to Community Health Briefs, where AI hosts share short, clear stories about research shaping healthier futures. Each episode highlights new work from members of the College for Community Health at Montclair State University, showing how ideas connect to the social and structural forces behind health. In short, this is research you can trust, explained by AI in minutes.
So think back to high school for a second. You're sitting in this rigid plastic chair for 6 hours a day, and you're told that sitting perfectly still is the only way to learn.
Right, which is usually miserable.
Exactly. But what if the data actually shows that forcing kids to sit still is, well, actively sabotaging their test scores? Welcome to a deep dive into a massive new study that reviewed decades of research on how to seamlessly sneak exercise into the teenage school day, and doing it without losing, a single drop of academic focus.
Yeah, the stakes here are, frankly, incredibly high. Because right now, something like 81% of adolescents globally are just failing to get the recommended 60 minutes of daily physical activity.
Wow, 81%, that's huge.
It's a massive community health issue.
Yeah.
And that lack of movement, it doesn't just impact physical health or obesity rates. It directly impairs a teenager's cognitive development and their stress regulation.
Right, because when teenagers move, it literally pumps more oxygen to the brain. It triggers the release of proteins that act almost like Miracle-Gro for neural connections.
Yeah, exactly. Which makes them way better equipped to handle stress and retain information.
So this brings us to the work of Dr. Jong-Ho Moon. He's an assistant professor of kinesiology in the College for Community Health at Montclair State University.
Right. And his life's work is entirely focused on this exact problem. He's trying to figure out how to build school-wide health promotion systems that actually get kids moving.
So Dr. Moon's team asked a really practical question, which is, how are middle and high schools actually pulling this off in the real world?
Right. And to find out, they mapped out 44 global studies covering nearly 60,000 students.
That's a massive sample to look at.
It really is. And they did this to see what actually works on the ground, just completely stripping away all the academic jargon.
It's almost like sneaking spinach into a fruit smoothie, right? You blend the physical activity into math or science so naturally that it just doesn't disrupt the main goal.
That is a great analogy. And they identify two really successful strategies for doing that. The first one is what they call non-academic breaks.
Okay. What does that actually look like?
Well, it's just a quick, maybe 3 to 5 minute pause in the lesson to just hit the reset button. So it could be a brief stretching routine or, even a gamified Xbox Connect activity.
Oh, just to get the heart rate up before diving back into a tough subject.
Exactly.
Okay, so brain breaks are great for hitting reset, but that still takes time away from the lesson itself. So is there a way to actually teach the curriculum while moving?
There is. And the researchers call this academic integration. So instead of taking a break from learning, you use the body to reinforce the learning.
Okay, I think I get it. So rather than a teacher just drawing angles on a chalkboard, the students actually stand up and use their arms to form obtuse and acute angles.
Yes, exactly. They're physically embodying the geometry. It uses the body as like a physical hard drive to back up the data.
That is wild.
Yeah, because when you learn physics by, say, physically acting out velocity or momentum, your muscle memory actually reinforces the cognitive memory.
Right. But if this works so well, why isn't every school doing it? Because when I picture modern classrooms adding movement, I'm thinking of, expensive standing desks or pedal desks. How do under-resourced schools even manage this?
Yeah, well, you've hit on a major structural determinant of health here. Because the modern classroom wasn't really designed for human biology.
Right, it was designed for industrial efficiency.
Exactly. And under-resourced schools often have overcrowded rooms with rigid, totally outdated furniture and, spotty Wi-Fi.
And they're usually the ones facing the most intense, high-stakes testing pressures, too. A teacher whose job depends on standardized test scores is going to be terrified to lose even 1 minute of traditional instructional time.
Oh, absolutely. The environment totally dictates the approach. When a teacher is paralyzed by the fear of falling behind on a rigid curriculum, adding movement feels like, an impossible luxury.
Because they assume it requires all that expensive equipment or just a total disruption of the class.
Right. But if you're an educator or a parent listening to this, the good news is you don't actually need to beg the school board for a massive budget to bypass those structural barriers.
Oh, really? What's the alternative then?
Well, advocating for free, simple, 3-minute movement breaks is a highly actionable starting point. I mean, you don't need a pedal desk or an Xbox to have students stand up, stretch their arms, and take some deep breaths.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It requires literally zero budget and minimal space.
Right, but it still delivers immediate cognitive benefits.
So looking at all this global evidence, it really is clear that movement integration in secondary schools is a highly practical, realistic strategy.
Very much so. It promotes physical activity, and it actually builds emotional resilience among adolescents.
Without sacrificing their academic performance.
Yeah, because the two actually support each other.
Yeah.
Physical health and academic success are just deeply connected.
We've been culturally conditioned to believe that sitting perfectly still is the ultimate sign of a good student. But if the data shows that movement actively improves memory and test scores, is forcing teenagers to sit at rigid desks all day actually sabotaging the very academic success our schools are trying to achieve?
Thanks for listening to Community Health Briefs. This podcast was created with the help of AI, verified by the paper's author, and does not necessarily reflect the views of the College for Community Health or Montclair State University. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for our next episode. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at www.montclair.edu/CCHL to learn more about us and the amazing work we're doing for community health.